Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We rented movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Bish, I think you better come over here. Carl, you got your little black book?
Yes.
Give me the number for something impossible to access.
Okay. What about this air traffic control system?
Okay, Mother.
Oh my God.
How is this possible?
Cryptography systems are based on mathematical problems so complex they cannot be solved without a key.
Janek must have figured out a way to solve those problems without the key, and he hardwired it into that chip.
Turn it off.
Anybody want to crash a couple of passenger jets?
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweetie.
Today, guys, Sneakersons, we're doing one of my favorite movies, and I think Sweetie here likes it
Yes,
pretty
I love
good
it as
too. I recently came to the conclusion this movie is definitely in my top 5.
Okay.
Other than about every other movie that we've covered on this podcast, which I've also said is in my top 5, all those are out now. I mean, not Goonies. Goonies is up there too.
Huh.
But this is like, I think one that is, and maybe Big is up there too.
Okay. I think we need to sit down and like really craft a list because it's getting a little,
Yeah.
it's getting a little crazy.
It's really tough. But guys, I love this so much. The movie is Sneakers. Weird title for me, though.
Oh my God.
I'm
I
still
always
unclear
thought
about-
it was about sneakers.
Yeah.
And super confusion is that the like the box cover or whatever at the movie store had nothing to do with sneakers, but this other movie made in the 90s did, which I always confuse with this one because it had a sneaker on it. So I was like, oh, that must be Sneakers. But no, that's Eating Raoul, which, do you remember that?
No.
It's like a big mouth with a shoe in it.
Oh, not really.
Okay, well, it was a sneaker, and so I
Yeah.
just confused it. But I had no idea, and I was like, what, sneakers?
I think as much as I really love this movie, like, to death, I can, like, basically, I was, like, reciting all the lines. They're just so good. For many reasons, which we will go into, this movie is fabulous. However, I've always been confused and sort of like, I think they should have named this something else because that movie doesn't actually reflect, like, at all what this movie is about.
The title.
Right?
Yeah, well, what do you think what is a better title?
Too Many Secrets.
Yeah, that could work.
You know?
It's a little weird.
Blind people are the shit.
Martin Bishop. Too many accents?
Yeah.
Marty. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this episode, we'll propose a new title for this movie.
Okay. So, Sneakers, 1992. Guys, I saw this in the movie theater when I was 9 years old. How fucked up
Who'd
is
you
that?
see it with?
Catherine Hurd. I don't know what our parents were thinking, dropping us off at the Wellfleet Cinema and just being like, here, guys, see this movie.
Where's
You're not going to get at all. But it was so exciting, even as a 9-year-old. I was obsessed with this movie, even though I did not get it.
I think it's just the like spy kind of aspect of it, and like I still don't understand most of it.
Yeah, the synopsis is going to be real interesting.
So I can't imagine as a 9-year-old what I would have thought.
I'm pretty smart, but this was over my
still,
head.
I'm still like, what? What's the encryption?
And I think probably for the 90s, this is probably one of the best ensemble casts. So
or
good.
ever.
Or
Like,
ever.
I can't
or ever. I don't know. I was trying to think of
movie.
other ones. I'm like, maybe like Ocean's 11. I don't know if you're like going that route.
Yes, but like, what movie
like,
has
Western movie.
Sidney fucking Poitier?
Yeah. Okay. So
Hey,
let's
come
go
on.
down. So
Okay.
it's Robert Redford. Check.
Bobby.
Sidney Poitier. check. Dan Ackroyd, check. River Phoenix, R.I.P. David Strathairn, check.
Tough name to say.
Yeah,
I'll tell you. Every time I see it, I skip it. I skip the name.
James Earl Jones, check. And that woman from Dances with Wolves, Mary
McDonald?
McDonald, yep.
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, forgot that one. Dang.
Gandhi himself. The dad from A League of Their Own, Marla's dad, and
Mr. Hooch.
and Mr. Kent from Lois and Clark.
Yes, good one, good memory.
Did you say Stephen Tobolowsky yet?
No.
Yep, small part, but now that he's so
Jesus.
much more well known, he just only adds to the great ensemble cast.
He'll always be my Werner Brandis.
Good.
I have that tattooed on my back.
His thing. My name. Hi. My
My
name
name
is
is Werner
Brandis.
Brandis.
My voice is my passport. Verify me. Good tattoo. Good.
Should I phone you or nudge you?
Well, what does that
Worst date
mean?
ever.
That's just from the dating site.
Can sleep over.
I thought it was like Facebook is like poking. I thought this dating site was like a nudge.
Do you want to fucking have sex with me, or am I calling you in the morning to have
so
breakfast?
sweetie confusion. See,
Yeah. Yeah. Good cast. Good cast.
such a good cast. Just amazing, and it really didn't dawn on me until I was older and realized that these were all like very important people and actors, you know. And then I was like, dang, that's a good cast.
Yeah.
Ugh, so good.
Yeah. Amazing story, which we'll get into in one hot sec. Amazing score, which we'll talk about post synopsis.
Few more hot sex.
Yep. And comedy and international intrigue. Ben Kingsley with a man bun. I mean, there's nothing in this movie that is bad.
Freelance spy work.
Yeah.
It's just
What is bad about this movie? I don't understand why no one like knows about this movie, or as many people know about
I don't think that's it. I don't think it's because there's anything that's bad about it. I just don't think it's that well known.
Why, God? Why?
Because it's not something that parents introduce to their kids, or it wasn't like a cult classic. I don't know. Just say, like, if you know about this movie, you're one of the cool people.
Yeah,
you're one of the
definitely.
cool kids. So live it up, embrace it.
Yep.
We don't want too many people to know about it, because then it'll be like
Then it would
this
be-
annoying thing where everybody's like, sneakers, bro, love it.
No.
Good movie, yo. Yeah, it'd be terrible.
It would be terrible. Okay. Well, so the plot's kind of complicated, but we're gonna do our best here.
I took
Ready?
notes on the plot.
Yep.
We'll see what
Studied
happens.
it. It's time for the sweetie synopsis.
Yeah, sweeties.
I leave message here on service, but you do not call.
All right. The year is 1969. It's December. Martin Bryce and his friend Cosmo, not Kramer, someone else named Cosmo, are college students who are kind of like libertarian hackers, modern day Robin Hoods, if you will.
Modern day Bernie Bros.
They hack into like the Nixon campaign and then donate all of their money to funny thing like the Black Panther Party, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is like, and I said this when we were watching this, like computers were around much earlier than.
Remember in Mad Men, they got their first computer,
right.
and it was a
So-
giant
and
thing.
they were used like big organizations. Obviously, there's like giant systems and stuff. Like we think of computers as like the little, once they were rolling out the personal computers and the Macs and like the word processors, but larger companies and big organizations and wherever they were, they were in some school. It was a winter,
I don't know
right?
where that was.
I think. Well, they must have been near Canada because he like goes to the border, but like universities must have had them for computer science or different sciences, right? Okay, so keep that in mind as we're talking about computers.
So they're doing that thing, and then Marty is like, I'm gonna get pizza, and Cosmo's like, sure, we're not gonna get caught for this, and Marty's like, no, we're good. Which I don't like, brazen statement to make. It's how does he
get
know?
a brain?
Yeah.
Like what are you doing? Like this is like pretty serious stuff.
Very serious
And
stuff.
basically, he just does whatever Marty does. He thought Marty was like the shit.
I think he's totally in love with Marty.
Yes.
Totally a gay thing there.
Yeah.
Unrequited. Okay. So Marty goes out. He's trying to get the van started, and then he sees like flashing lights in the distance. And unfortunately, police have raided their little dorm or bunker, whatever the office they were at. So they arrest Cosmo, and then
Marty runs up to the window, and Cosmo looks out and sees Marty, and then Marty just runs away. And so that's the end point of that beginning segment.
But like, what would you do in that situation? Would you run too, or be like, hey, I'm the other person?
Right. I mean, there's a loyalty thing, I guess, involved, but I would think that, like, it's no good if you both get caught kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, it sucks, but it's just, like, bad luck, like you said. Like, there was no like, bad intention there. He didn't, like, he didn't, like, set him up. Maybe Cosmo thought he set him up or something, and then because it was pretty opportune that he left.
And it sounds like it wasn't, like, Cosmo's idea. Like, I feel like we were saying, like, Marty was like the real idea driver, and he probably didn't even have the technical know-how, because once you figure out what happens to Cosmo in prison and what he was able to do with, like, what he knew about computers, I think he was like the real brain there.
That's true. He's the brains of the
he
operation.
Was just, like, using him.
Okay, so cut to present day, San Francisco. Marty has changed his name to Martin Bishop, and he now leads a crack team of ex-government / just hackers. Yeah. And they are trying to break into this bank. So he's got a team that includes himself, Mother, played by Dan Aykroyd, Carl, who's 19, played by River Phoenix, Whistler, and these are mostly nicknames if you haven't figured that out, Whistler, played by David
Strathairn.
It's never going to happen for me. It's never going to happen. I'm like straight-haired. I can't do it. And then Donald Crease, played by Sidney Poitier. So they break into this bank. They get some money. And then Marty withdraws all the money and walks it upstairs to the bank and then says, gentlemen, you have insufficient security procedures, blah, 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 blah. So come to find out, Marty and his team actually get paid to break into people's security systems to make sure that nobody can break into their security systems.
So they're identifying weaknesses within the system that other people could potentially
so they do like mock robberies kind of and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
Right. So they're like using they're basically like small-time criminals, and they're using those skills that they had from being criminals to stop other criminals. So kind of interesting game.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So they come back to the office, right? And there's these two guys from supposedly the NSA waiting for Martin. And they start kind of being like, oh, who are these people in your gang? And they're kind of needling him about all the people. So they all have kind of, some have criminal backgrounds, some like Crease was like ex-CIA.
But he had to leave.
Yeah, he was discharged. So, and then it goes, and then we come to Martin Bishop, but he has no past. So they come to find out, they know that Martin Bishop is actually Martin Bryce, and that he is still wanted, for that crime from 1969.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we know your secret. Here's our card. Meet us at this office. Like, we need something from you. So he thinks about it for a second, and then he's like, fuck, I gotta go. Goes to this office, meets with them, and turns out that they need him to basically do another sort of not bank robbery, but another little operation to get this black box that this mathematician,
Gunther Yannick.
Gunther Yannick? Yeah. Who was supposedly, they're telling him, was hired by the Russians to make this black box, which is essentially a code-breaking box. So he works with cryptography. So if you're not familiar with that, it's like complex math problems that will create unbeatable codes. So he's like, okay, if you bring us this box, we'll clear your name, we'll get out of your hair.
And we'll give you $175,000.
And we'll pay you. So this is good for everyone. He tells the guys, hey, he comes clean. Listen, this is my pass. This is my real name. They got me. If you want to help me, great. If not, like, you're totally fine, and like, you can leave. But they're like, fucking, who cares? We want money. We'll each get like $25,000, right?
That's it? $175,000?
$50,000?
Divided by, I don't know. It was a lot for the 90s, whatever it was.
Right. So they have to do some very nimble, little detective work to figure out where the box is. Some cool scenes there, and they do end up stealing the box.
That's the box.
So they throw themselves a little party because they're gonna have all this money.
Woo,
chain of fools, and they're all like trying to figure out what they're gonna do with the money. So they're really, really excited. So meanwhile, and we'll go back to this, I think, in the favorite scenes part. But basically, they stumble upon Whistler Carl decide to like, oh, let's check out this box and see what it can really do. And this box is no joke because what does it do?
The box basically can break it's like a universal code breaker. So all important government sites and whatever sites are all encrypted. And this box has the ability to decrypt, is that the word? Those sites so that you can get on them. So you don't need you don't need anything to get in there except this box. So it's a very big deal because all of a sudden they're looking at air traffic control and they're like, dang, if this box got in the wrong hands, like it would be bad news.
There's not a government on earth who wouldn't kill us all for that thing.
As Kreese says. Yes, correct. So they kind of are a little spooked. They all stay the night in the office, and Kreese has got his like little pistol, which is like upgrade to something. So there's like 2 bullets in that thing. Like, come on. But anyways, so they make it through the night, and then Marty, the handoff is the next morning. So Marty goes with Kreese to give the NSA guys the box. Kreese stays in the car while Marty goes to meet them. While Marty is meeting them, Kreese sees a newspaper, and on the front page is a story about how that mathematician that they just stole the box from was murdered. So he freaks out. And
the NSA doesn't kill people, Marty.
Right.
Who are those guys?
So he gets Marty back in the car. They drive off. And they're like, who are those guys? Who are they? So they try to find out. They go back to that office that Marty met them at, and it has been demolished. Yeah. Crazy shit.
Basically, Marty was like an idiot because as much as he knows about government and being sneakerson, he doesn't check any of this information out. Like the NSA never had an office in San Francisco. Like there's all these things that they figure out. Like the Janek's grant was from the NSA to do that cryptography work. He wasn't working for the Russians.
Think the thing was that he was so spooked that these guys knew his real identity, and he knew that no one else knew his real identity except for Cosmo, and Cosmo was supposed to have died in prison. Right. So he doesn't think there's any other answer that why wouldn't they be NSA agents? Like how else would they know? So I think that's why, and like, yes, he probably should have researched, but
I don't
like,
blame
whatever.
Them, but it was definitely like, oh my God, what were we thinking?
Yeah.
Like we need to check this information out.
Yeah. So after this, he goes to his little Russian buddy,
Gregor. Greg for short.
And is like, yo, did you hire this guy to make this black box? Like, what the fuck is up? And the Russian's like, no, I didn't do that. He's like, what's happening? And Marty kind of tells them that, these 2 guys told me they were NSA, but I don't think they are. They made us steal this box, and now we're fucked. So the Russian guy pulls out his like giant binders full of people they tried to turn to be like Russian spies that didn't work out, but he just carries them around in his limo all the time. Yeah. Just in case he needs them. So they're flipping through, and then finally he sees one of the guys and he says, uh-oh, this guy's real bad news. He's like, you better, like, I need to keep you safe. And then meanwhile they get pulled over, and he doesn't tell Marty who he's working for, which is like, dude, spit it out.
Spit it out. Oh my God, I hate that part.
Could have saved us a lot of grief.
What really they were going to do in that limo? Like, can we guarantee your safety? I mean, Greg wasn't going to do anything, and he was like a sitting duck.
Yeah, it sucked. So this FBI agent, quote unquote, comes up to the window and is like, Martin Bishop, like, please step out of the car. And he finds a gun that Marty had on him, just in case. He's like, is this loaded? And Martin's like, yes. And so the guy walks over to poor Greg and shoots him point blank. He's dead. So sad. The limo driver dead. Then the bad NSA guys come out from behind him, hit him over the head, put him in the trunk of a car, and drive off. Marty awakens. He's like disoriented. He's like, oh, where am I? You hear some noises, blah, 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 blah. So they knock him out again when they open the trunk because he woke up again. And he comes to in a mysterious office. Yeah. Who's in this office?
So he doesn't know at first. He sees a guy with like salt and pepper hair, a man bun, a suit, and holding a bottle of aspirin. And he does this kind of cool magic trick. And he's like, Cosmo is not dead.
Oh my God.
Cosmo has been alive the whole time. It's his old buddy Cos. So Cosmo tells him that, he was in prison for a little bit, made some friends with the mob while he was in prison, and they recruited him. They got him an early release and then recruited him to like launder their money and help them with their books and stuff like that. So basically Cosmo works for the mob, okay? And the mob, needs all their stuff is like encrypted. So if any government officials get that black box, which is what like the NSA was having Janet do, supposedly, is to create this black box so they could spy on other people who had stuff that was encrypted and break these codes. If the government is able to do that for the mobsters, like, they're fucking done. So Cosmo says that he's doing this like for these guys that he works for, but really he has ulterior motives because he wants to use this to like crash banks and countries and small countries and stuff. So he's thinking on a much like larger level. So he's still the Cosmo from 1969, where what they kind of call themselves like Robin Hoods. They're kind of stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. A little bit a communist. Remember you said like, isn't this communism?
Sounded like communism
really they want
to me.
more of like a wealth to be distributed.
I think they wanted no wealth at all.
Yeah.
So I guess it's more of a John Lennon situation, where like just like no money, which is just realistic.
Right. And like Marty is just, he's been in the world and he's like, you know what? Like we were just dumb kids. Like that method just doesn't work. Like because someone is always going to be in power. Like you're saying you're taking the money from the rich and giving it to everybody else, but now you're the powerful one and who's going to keep you in check, you know? So that's why, the same thing with communism. That's why that never worked, because it was like horribly corrupt and you had people completely taking advantage of the system as you're wont to do. Anyways, so Cosmo's like basically just telling him the story, and then he just took him there to like tell him the story. He didn't want to kill him or anything.
No, I think he wanted Marty to kind of join him, but he was kind of like, "You're crazy," and he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Well, look at this. Now that I have this code breaker, I can break into the FBI's system, and they'll find that gun that we left in the tunnel with your fingerprints on it, and they'll trace it back to Martin Bryce, who doesn't exist. However, I can add in this alias that says Martin Bishop, and then they'll track you down and you'll go to prison." And he's like, "Oh, fuck." And then he's like, "Great, that sucks." So he does that. He updates the alias and knocks him out again, and then they drop him back off at his office. So next morning, the group calls the NSA to see, like, okay, what is this box? Like, what can we do here? Like, maybe we can offer it to them and they can make us some kind of deal. So they try to do that, but they don't have the box. So they're not getting like, they quickly realize that without that box, they're all going to be fucked like instantly. So next plan is get the box back again. So now they have to
steal the box.
So now they have to break into Cosmo's office and find it. So they have to figure out where Cosmo's office is, which is another favorite scene that we'll discuss later. They figure it out. They break into his office. They get the box back, but a couple other circumstances happen, and Cosmo comes back. There's a big confrontation. Very exciting scene. Ultimately, there's several like fake handoff. Like they have the box, and then we get the box, and they get the box, and they get the box.
It's all back and forth.
But ultimately, Marty's got the box, and then they're all about to escape, and Cosmo sees him again on the roof and is like, "Marty, like we could have run the world, blah blah blah. Give me the box." He's like, "Fine, you want the box? You can have the box. I don't care about this fucking box." He didn't say that, but like he does. He
and
gives
then
him the box.
Cosmo like almost shoots him, but like basically Marty like takes advantage of how much he knows Cosmo like really loves him, and really was like his first and last, not first, but like his last friend, because he was in prison and then he works for the mob, and now Cosmo's whole thing is like, you can't trust anybody. That's now what his entire like thing is. And Martin's like, I don't live like that. So I feel like he was like the last person that that he trusted Martin, and then Martin kind of sold him out. Yeah. But he knows Cosmo wasn't going to kill him. So he kind of calls his bluff. He's like, dude, like if you want to kill me, like you're going to have to pull the trigger, because the thing with Cosmo, he's so rich now and powerful, he can get everyone to do all this dirty work for him. But he was going to have to kill Martin, and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it. He was like his last friend, and he couldn't do it. So Martin runs away. They have the box, woohoo, and they go back to their.
He did a little switcheroo, and then so Cosmo thinks he has the box, but he doesn't. So Martin actually has the box.
Right. So they have the box, and they go back to the apartment, and they're like, "Woo! Can't believe it! We did it!" And then the fucking NSA is there. So James Earl Jones, and an amazing turn, is Mr. Abbott. And I feel like half of it is because he's just very much in the last part, but the part where he's on the phone, like he has such a good voice, and really it's just that part on the phone that is like his whole part. Anyway, so that he does come in person. He's like, "Okay, give us the box." Like, "Okay, we'll give you the box, but you have to like promise to give us all these things." So they all want things that they all were going to buy with the money that they got, from originally stealing the box.
Which they didn't get. Yeah.
Which they didn't get. So now they're going to get all this stuff. And he gives them the box, and he goes, "Listen, it's broken." Because the thing is, the NSA has never seen the box. They were just telling, Janik had the grant to create it, but they didn't get the final product from him. So they don't know if it works or not. And they're like, it doesn't work. But just to make sure that the NSA does not use it for bad things, because come to find out that the NSA just wanted this box not to spy on other governments, but to spy on other government agencies within our own government. Because I guess they're all kind of like individual entities, if you will.
Yep.
And but to make sure that they don't use it for nefarious reasons, Martin takes out like basically the motherboard chip. So it's kind of like all these wires and then it's like one little motherboard. And so now the NSA can't use it for bad things.
Suckers. So it's kind of it. And there's like a cute little thing at the end where like there's a news report that like the Republican National Committee has gone bankrupt, even though they had plenty of money the week before. And then mysteriously, all these other like Amnesty International and the Black College Union Board has gotten
Negro College Fund?
It's called the Negro College Fund. Sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Have received all these anonymous donations. So you kind of think like, oh, okay, they must have like gotten that motherboard and used it to do the thing that he was doing at the beginning, where transferring money out of bad people's accounts into like good things. So, they win in the end.
Yep.
And that's it.
Wow,
It's,
I feel like that was good.
super
We did a
complicated.
really good synopsis, though.
I feel like we understood it
Wow, I'm so proud of us.
fundamentally, but there's still some questions
Okay.
that like that stick out that I still struggle with.
Okay.
Namely, who did the mob fake Cosmo's death in prison? I thought they just got him. He said they got him out early.
Yeah.
So they faked his death.
Oh, I don't know. I just thought that was just like a rumor that Martin heard.
How? Like,
Well,
you don't just hear a rumor like that.
I
Like,
don't
you would
know.
more often hear like he got released.
Because it's not like Martin was like in touch with Cosmo's family. I mean, he just like disappeared and created a new life.
True. It's just
So he's like, last I heard, he died. Like he didn't really fucking know. So I mean, that was like a kind of sketchy information to like hang your coat on about like whether this guy died.
Right.
But yeah,
totally.
whatever. Martin's dumb sometimes.
He's a little dumb sometimes. Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about. So you saw us in the movie theater. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure I just saw this maybe with Dad on TV or something. I remember we also watched it at school one time for like in our like one of our computer classes in like 9th grade. And I remember after it ended, and like the music. We'll talk about the music, but the music is so good. And I was in. Do you remember like B building? It was like that super like old. Our campus was very like 1970s.
Yeah.
And so this had like weird hallways and stairways. And I remember I like left class and I could still hear like the music in my head. So I was like walking around hallways like all like sneaky, like
You were sneakers?
Yeah, I
You
was
were being a
pretending to be
sneaker? You were being a
sneakers, and I
sneaker.
got like so jazzed on it. I just
It's
love
so
that.
good.
It's so fun. Like all I ever wanted to be was a spy when I was little.
Yeah,
Like
same.
so bad. And I still am waiting for the CIA to be like, yo, you got the goods.
Yeah.
Come join
And
us.
like what's really cool about this movie is that I think it is like still aged like pretty okay. Because I mean, yeah, the computers are like pretty like when they pull up all the sites like the Federal Reserve and like air traffic control, it's nothing like fancy or anything. Like the sites, they're pretty like basic, and this is basically like basic computer code.
Well, it's
shit.
interesting. Like, yes, but they're also like mainframe,
Yes,
and that's still
exactly.
today what mainframes look
Exactly.
like.
Right.
So it's actually not that
Right.
not that
Right.
different.
And it's interesting now, like there's obviously this was 92, so this was like right a couple years after the war, the wall fell and Russia and everything kind of breaking up, or Soviet Union. And so that's like a theme here because they're friends with the Russians, but there's like obviously some kind of bad blood there. And like, can they trust the Russians or not? And I was telling Sweetie, I'm like, oh my God, we've come full circle because Russia is like back in our like shit again.
I feel like they always
Still
were.
relevant.
Like, I don't know. If they
Well,
were.
I think I put the Russians exclamation point in my notes because like other than the Nazis, like that's just obviously the second like you put Russians in a movie, you're like, yeah, interesting.
Russians!
Yeah, even though they end up being not bad guys in this at all,
yes.
but they're like bogus, like fake bad guys. They want
Russia
you to
was a
believe-
red herring.
Yes.
Communism
I
is a
know.
red herring.
But yeah, so that's amazing. What was I gonna say? Okay, so let's talk about before we get into best scenes because there's like we kind of
So
skipped over
many.
all of them in the synopsis so we could talk about them in a little bit more detail. But let's first talk about the score, as you were just kind of saying that. So this is a score by James Horner, who sadly, if you remember 2 years ago, I think it was 2015, he was a pilot, an amateur pilot, and he crashed his plane, and he was by himself. And it was like, yeah, that was really sad. I was like walking to work one day and I was like, no. So he did Titanic. I call him like, he's like one slot under John Williams, and he's like done so many.
I'll be honest,
like
I've
compositions.
never heard his name.
Look
before.
at his thing. Oh my god,
I
it's
know,
in
but
everything.
like I never would know that was his name or
Yeah.
like what he did. Like that's fucked up.
So this soundtrack is so fucking cool. It is used so well. The score, not the original score. So it's not like the songs that they put in, which are pretty good, but like the actual score is so cool. So at first it's like kind of like that like saxophone kind of bluesy riff that kind of reminds you of 80s stuff, and you're like, oh, Kenny G. But then there's this like crazy use of the piano. Like it is just, it's really a really good score. It like makes this movie. And it's just like a lot of stuff about sound. And part of that is because Whistler is a huge part of this movie and he's blind. So all of his stuff is really about hearing. So I think that's why they like, for a theory is that they make it kind of part of this, is that it's a lot about music and like sound and making it not necessarily what you see all the time, but like your other senses being involved. Right. And that's part of being a sneaker too. What?
Yeah. Listen, don't hear. Listen, don't watch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love
I
that this
fucked it
takes
up.
place in San Francisco. Very cool setting.
Pretty cool setting.
Yeah.
Even though they don't, I feel like they don't use it.
When the bridges part?
That's the only part I can think of. Like, but like, how else? I forgot. Like, I forgot that it was in San Francisco until.
And
like,
they
that part.
every like they use a 49ers hat. They use all the sports teams.
true.
So that
But I feel like they did that because they weren't making enough of like a obvious. You know, they're like, oh, we gotta inject some more San Francisco into this. So yeah, who knows?
Right.
But yeah, good music. We'll try to maybe find a couple clips, put them in there.
Oh yeah.
What's the one that's like?
The like whatever is that piano? Yeah, that just like goes down the piano.
Oh yeah.
And like whenever it's like scary music or like or intense. I mean, there's a lot of intense scenes here. And I remember watching when I was little, watching this, it was like nail biter. Now that I've seen it like 1,000 times, obviously like not that intense, but there's a lot of like, oh, they're gonna get out of this. We're gonna see it this
so
time, and the music just like
good.
plays into that, and it's so good.
So good.
Robert Redford is a stud. He's like a hot shit.
He's an old stud. He's a little old. He's a little too old, I think. He's like, I feel like he's past
just
his
on the
prime
cut.
already in this.
Oh, just on the cusp, I think. He's still pretty attractive.
I mean, he's attractive, but I'm not like attracted to him as I was when we watched The Way We Were.
Right. So
where-
I want to
where
like bring it back to that.
swooning.
So I was saying how I feel like a little bit that Robert Redford is a flat actor to me, because like what I've seen him in has been ones now like The Horse Whisperer. Have you ever seen that? Oh my god, most boring movie in the world.
we saw it at the drive-in. It was the second movie, and I fell asleep immediately.
Isn't that Scarlett Johansson as the girl? I think it
Was she
is.
really tiny?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that is the most boring movie in the world.
But I'm the horse whisperer. I'm going to whisper things to the horse. Is that what the movie is?
I don't even remember. It's horrible. And then I remember we saw The Way We Were, and then we watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid a couple years ago, and it was like, holy shit. Like, and with Paul Newman, holy shit again. Like, those guys were so good looking. So that's amazing. Robert Redford, you'll always be my Hubble.
Hubble. The girl's lovely, Hubble.
What a fucking weird name. He's kind of a dick in that, but he's really hot.
Super dick.
But yeah, super cool. And David Strathairn, which we cannot say his name to save our lives.
You were fine saying it. Now you're messed up.
I got your cooties.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Cooties. He's a great actor, and if you look at his film resume, he's like really been in so many things. Really after Good Night and Good Luck, that like really took off for him, I think. But he's amazing, and I'm always like, man, having your turn as playing like the blind guy is always, I feel like, is, actors either do that well or don't.
Well, yeah, but he was in like other movies too.
No, definitely. But I always like when obviously non-blind people play blind people, and like how they're going to do that.
Yeah, he was very
He was
convincing. When
very
I was little, I
convincing.
definitely thought he was actually blind. It took me a while
I
to
saw
realize.
this one. Do you know this movie? I saw this at the gym one time. It's with Chris Pine, and he's a blind guy. And he's like trying to date this girl, and she's like Indian. No, it's interesting.
No.
Yeah,
No idea. They have weird ass movies at the gym sometimes. I'm like, what is this?
bizarre. But that's always like interesting to see people like, oh, like how are you gonna play a blind person or with any sort of disability? But he is like, he is the tits in this movie, man. He is so good. And like I said, it's like so interesting because he's so smart, and like half the stuff that he does in this movie, it's like, and we'll go into this when we do this, the main scene, which I think is my favorite scene, how he's like, he has these braille machines that like pop up the little braille thingies, and that's how he reads, and is moving so I don't get it. I don't understand
We'll
how you
never
can
get it
understand
because we
what
didn't
stuff
learn.
is.
We didn't learn it when it's just. I once saw a blind woman on the train who had this like gigantic tome, reading it. It was a braille book, and I was just like in awe, like, oh my god, just like, oh man, just really is so cool. That thing, oh man, it just blows
it's
my
like
mind.
the coolest thing. So yeah, he is amazing in this for sure, and they're all really good. So good to see River Phoenix. I guess this was like a year before he died. You said, he was pretty cool in this, and he brought like a nice little young like light to this. Sidney Poitier. I mean, what else needs to be said? That guy kills it.
Killed it. Yeah, he's
Killed
great. He has
it.
a couple like really great lines.
Yeah.
It's just classic.
Crease. I love how his name is Crease. It's just like so tough and cool. Everyone is like so cool in this too. I mean, Mother's supposed to be kind of a dork.
He is. Why is he wearing that necklace? It's the worst. It's like the worst thing I've
I
ever
love
seen.
how his name's Mother. That would totally be Dan Aykroyd's name. I mean, he's just a mother.
And he's super into like conspiracy
Yes.
theories. So that's like all he does is like annoy Kreese with these whack ass conspiracy theories, like the normal ones. But then like, you know, like the Apollo 11 was fake, the moon landing was fake, and then he's like really dumb ones like, oh, Pete Rose, I don't know, something baseball,
it's
blah
just,
blah blah.
It's just all like mumbo
Yeah.
jumbo. Sir Ben Kingsley, interesting turn.
He's a great actor, but I think that he struggled with this character a little bit because he just didn't know what accent to use or something, which is confusing because I feel like he can use different accents pretty well. We've seen him display several great accents.
I don't know what's happening here.
He's in Schindler's List, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Gandhi, obviously, and
Right.
and other stuff
So
too.
he's supposed to be this Jewish guy with, as presumably a New York accent.
That's
right?
what he's supposed to be,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
Okay, I did not get that.
That, I think, what he was going for. And then that really became the man of 10 accents. It felt Australian at one point, perhaps British.
He'd be like Marty, like that. I can. It's just like internet.
And then, but then he was like, disaster.
which is a point where I thought he was doing that as a joke. Like I'm making fun of my mafia friends by
Maybe
saying
he
it like
was.
this way.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's like a
Is-
little too deep, though.
Right. No, it did. No, I'm sure that's not what it was. But it was like sentence to sentence. It wasn't like in one scene it was this. It was like literally like, I'm going to be British for a little bit. And it was like, and now I'm going to be crazy. Like, Marty. Oh, man, it's weird.
Yeah, but he's still excellent. His slow run, I mean, is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, they figure out that like Marty is broken into the office, and like he like does this like crazy weird like slow like the slowest jog I've ever
robot.
seen. Yes.
He's
And
very
he has these, like,
robotic.
big wide. His shoulders are like quite wide, but he has like a small proportion of a body, and it just like he doesn't move his arms. Maybe that's it.
That's
You're
it.
seeing him from behind.
That's definitely it. Because he's a small guy, I think. Right? Yeah, he must be. So they must have given him
We'll
like
try to put a video up of this because see if anyone else has noticed it. But I like remember it's like seared into my
Well, they
brain.
must have
that
given him
slow
like a
run.
big suit to make him look tougher
Yeah,
or something. Does IMDb tell you how tall someone is? Yeah, personal details. Oh fuck.
And then last but not least, Mary McDonald, who's Liz, is like literally the best non-girlfriend ever. I mean, she's basically like
He's 5'8".
oh, that's that's kind of short for a guy. Liz is not really Martin's girlfriend anymore, but like she obviously they have some, like on and off kind of
They
relationship.
have a history.
Whatever.
She's the only other person that knows
Knows.
his true identity. So
But she puts up with so much shit. And then they go make her go out with that disgusting Werner Brandis guy twice.
They set up headquarters in her nice apartment. Yes. Bring like trash it. Yeah, she puts up with a lot. And then at the end, James Earl Jones is like, "What do you want?" And she's like, "I'm fine."
She's the coolest girl ever.
He better fucking marry her.
Yes.
I'm gonna be so
pissed. I don't know what is happening there. Like don't let her
missed
go.
out,
Hell,
buddy.
Martin.
Missed out.
Ugh, bullshit. Yeah, she's cool.
Should we talk about favorite scenes now, or keep talking about people? Okay.
Unless we missed any people and we want to.
I'm sure we did, but we'll talk about them later. Okay, so my first favorite part is the Scrabble situation.
Looking in the black box.
Okay, so this scene happens like in tandem, where
it's so cool.
Marty and Kreese are playing Scrabble with their lady friends, and then meanwhile, Whistler is investigating the black box. So they both start figuring things out. So Martin realizes during the Scrabble game, which seemed to be pretty far along, and I'd be pretty pissed if it was me playing this Scrabble game.
He's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, and then he just like flips over the board and is like, "What the fuck? I had a 50-point word." So
was it
he
scrunchy?
realizes that C-Tech Astronomy, which is the name of this supposed company that the mathematician was supposed to be working for, that doesn't mean anything, and that it must be an anagram. So one of my favorite movie tropes is when a character realizes something is an anagram and they try to figure it out, and then they get out a Scrabble board. Also, really
is this
good.
Another movie?
Yeah, it happens in Rosemary's Baby, and
wow.
I'm sure there's another one too that I'm missing, but I just love those scenes where you think of all these words that it could be. So they think of all these, they try to match all these other words, and they come up with like
Monterey's Coast.
Monterey's Coast doesn't mean anything.
My Socrates Note.
Cooties rat semen. Obviously doesn't mean anything. And then finally they land on Too Many Secrets. And as that's happening, as the camera like pans over like those words, Whistler has just figured out how to work this black box thing, which is it'll seem like you just plug it into something and it works.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, the technical stuff is like way over everyone's head unless you know like anything about like cables and motherboards and all that stuff. So it's really cool about that side of it. So you like the Scrabble stuff is going on, and then like they change over to them looking at the box. So like we said, Whistler has all these contraptions set up where he has all these like braille devices that like basically tell him what's going on. So his mother like putting this little whatever doohickey into the box, and he is reading the braille things, basically reading code, I think it is. So he's like puts them in the different holes or whatever, and then he stumbles on one hole, and it's like this crazy line of code that just like scans through the whole thing, and the music kind of goes dun, 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 and then just stops. And then he goes, what? Wait, go back. What was that? And then goes back, and then it's like dun, 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 and it's like all the code again, and you're like, and he's like, whoa, what is this? And then they call Carl over, and Carl has this black book with all these like on sites that you cannot get into. So all these government sites that you cannot just not hack. So they're like hackers,
super
right?
encrypted, yeah.
And so he does the Federal Reserve and the power grid and air traffic control. And like we couldn't figure out what they were putting in. I don't know if it was like IP addresses or like I don't know if they're like websites. Really, they were like numbers,
I don't know.
right?
Yeah.
So I think they're IP addresses
must have been.
probably. And he, it's all encrypted, so it's just like looks like just nothing on the screen. It's all just like mismatched lettering and stuff. And then he puts it into the box, and then it all just magically melts away, and they're able to get into that system. So
it's just crazy.
cool.
I just don't understand how like one thing could be the key to breaking any encrypted code. Like it just doesn't make sense in my head.
No, it was some crazy mathematic thing where you didn't need the key. So usually you have a math problem that turns out this key that solves the cryptography, right? But he got a way around it. It's based on a real thing.
Is this like that movie with
Benedict
Cumberbatch?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So he just found a way around it, and like Liz says, like found a way and hardwired into that chip.
Wow.
So that's like
Yeah.
Yep.
But, such a cool scene,
So
and like you
cool.
just really feel that like, dang, it's like a moment of realization that A, this is some serious shit,
Yeah.
and B, who the fuck did we just steal this box for?
Right.
Like, if this box, I was trying to like think of this in my head, like they were stealing I'm surprised they did the handoff even though I guess if he thought it was NSA, but like you know how at the end they take out the card. Why couldn't they have just done that? Why didn't they do that this time?
Yeah.
Like when they were going to do the handoff, maybe, I don't know, that's a little funny, but like, it's just such a crazy scene that they're like, whoa, we have so much power right now. This is insane. And then just like how much that puts them at risk by just having this in their clutches. Like, it's just crazy.
And how that doesn't like even happen now that we're not getting people hacking into air traffic control and like fucking shit up, you know?
Maybe we are. I don't know.
I don't know. It's totally weird. Anyway, that's awesome. That is totally my favorite scene, I think.
Totally.
But I have 4 others to talk about. Okay, my second one is the phone call with Mr. Abbott.
Ooh, I didn't have that one.
They decide to, I think I have these in order. Yeah, I do.
Nope.
But you don't have yours in order?
I know you do. I mean, if you don't have my next scene, then you don't have it in order.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I do. Okay, so the phone call with Mr. Abbott. So they're like, okay, like let's try to get the authorities involved. They try to do the right thing, even though they're kind of anti-authority people, right? So they call the NSA and they start talking to Mr. Abbott, which is James Earl Jones. And they're doing this thing where they're scrambling the call so that they know the NSA is going to trace it, right? NSA is all about communication, security and communication. And they're going to trace it. So they do kind of a scrambler and they bounce it off a bunch of satellites across the world. So they have like maximum 40 seconds or something to talk to him.
And it's bounced off 7 satellites.
Yeah, 7
so
satellites,
it's
like all over the globe. So they hook up this thing that is that measures stress levels. So it kind of looks like a lie detector test almost, but it measures the stress level in the person's voice.
That is what a lie detector test does, though.
But
But
for,
without,
like,
but
your
only
heartbeat.
based on voice.
Yeah,
not
they're not physically with him.
All
in
right,
the
that
room.
is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, this is the best hope we can get if like he's lying or not. So they tell him, okay, like we have this, can you guarantee my safety? Do you have the box? So they're just trying to see if they can come in without the box and they can still like help them, protect them and stuff. And they really basically get the gist from Mr. Abbott here that like they're not going to be able to offer them any help unless they have what they're looking for, which is this black box. So it's really intense because it's like going from satellite to satellite. And then he finally goes, can you guarantee my safety? Can you guarantee my safety? And James Earl Jones as Mr. Abbott is like, yes, we can guarantee your safely. And then like the stress level thing goes like crazy, like, and they're like, Bish, he's lying. Hang up. He's lying. And he's like, Bish is like, I don't know what to do. And then they wait like one last second and then like they hang up.
It was
the
close,
phone.
man. I like barely, I don't know. And some part of me thinks that they did end up tracing them because how else did they know where he was at the end?
Exactly.
Confusing.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's a super good scene. So my next one is after Bish gets kidnapped and he reunites with his buds and they're like, we need to figure out like where that office is. And he was like, well, they could have driven around in circles. Like, I'll never know where it is. And then Whistler's like, what did you hear, Marty? What did you hear? And so he's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, what sounds did you hear? So he realizes that like he can't see anything because he was locked in a trunk. So what do? You talk about what you heard. So he just Whistler tries to like get anything out of him. Like, did you go over speed bumps? Like, was there gravel? And he's like, no. He's like, a bridge? And then Bish is like, yeah, a bridge. We went over a bridge because he remembered hearing the seams, which bridges have those seams. So it makes that like boom, boom, boom sound when you drive over them. So Whistler just has this like he can make those sounds on this keyboard, which is very impressive.
Well, his whole like life is sound.
So
right?
they do this cool thing where they rule out. There's 4 main bridges in the San Francisco Bay Area. So Whistler's like, was the Bay fogged in last night?
Golden Gate fogged in.
Was the Golden Gate fogged in last night? And they say yes. So did you hear a foghorn? No. Oh, rule out the Golden Gate. Did you go under a tunnel? Like, no. So they rule out whatever that other one was. The Bay. The Bay Bridge. And so then that leaves 2 left. And the things that
San
differentiate
Mateo
these
and the
two.
Dumbarton.
So the thing that differentiates those is the space in between the seams, which Whistler just happens to know, I guess, because he's blind. So he knows all these things.
Right.
It's incredible. So they figure out which bridge it is, and they're like, okay, what happened next? And I'm just like shocked that Marty can recall this stuff, not under like hypnosis. Like, I would just be like, would you have remembered that?
No.
No, It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So then he's like, I was at a cocktail party. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean a cocktail party? But Whistler knows exactly what he's talking about and leads them to this like reservoir with all these fucking geese that are just like, rah, 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 and it does sound like people at a cocktail party clinking glasses. It's quite bizarre and really cool. And it's just like such an aha moment. And so then that leads them to the office. And it's just so magical how it all fits together.
So cool. That's an awesome scene. Next, I have the Werner Brandis date. So they go to the office and they figure out that this is where Cosmos' office is. And this is where the box is. It's also a Playtronics, which is a toy design company, robotics toy design company. And they have to figure out who is next to Cosmos' office because they're going to break in there to be able to get into Cosmos' office to get the black box. So they do some time-lapse sort of video and figure out it's this guy named Werner Brandis who lives next door. So they go get his trash. They find out he's a computator, and they need to set him up on a date with somebody. So luckily they have poor
So this is like online dating before online dating.
So they set him up with poor sweet Liz. And they figure out that in Cosmo's office, there's this heat-censored motion detector and also a voice-activated security system. So they're going to need someone's card and someone's voice.
Warner's office. Warner's office had the voice-activated security system, and then
The heat
Cosmos
sensor
had the
and the
heat
other one.
sensors and whatever. Yeah.
So they can beat it with tape. So they decide to have Liz go on this date and then say all the things that need to be said to be able to get into this room. So the thing is, hi, my name is Werner Brandis. My voice is my passport. Verify me. So those are all the words that Liz needs to get him to say during this date. So they go to this Chinese food restaurant, and she has like this little notepad. And she's like scratching off like all the things to say. So finally it comes down to passport. Like the restaurant's closing. They like can't. Like she's like, oh, I need to get him to say this. She's like, and she's very smart and like, you know, very flirty when she needs to be. And
Yes, but
she's
I
very
think
good
she was
at
a little too obvious at the end. Like I had like a much better idea in my head to like how to make him say passport.
Well, she tried to go the travel angle, but he didn't never travel.
Should have like gone up in that and been like, oh, so you haven't, so you don't have a what's that document
$20,000
called
pyramid.
that you need to get to other countries?
Do you know
I
that
can't think of it.
$20,000 pyramid is now $100,000 pyramid?
No.
Yeah.
Well, how much gets taken away after taxes? So.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
So she goes to get him to say the word passport. She's like, I think you have a lovely voice. And he's like, really? I always thought it was sort of nasally and pinched.
Which it is.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I have this word I just love for people to say. Like, can you say the word passport? And so he says passport. And she's like, oh, like, let's get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, she's a saint. Yeah. Also, that scene reminds me of the Chipmunk Adventure where Alvin needs Dave to like say all the things.
Yes.
And he also has a pad with all this stuff. And the Chipmunk Adventure what year was that? That was before this, right? Let's see.
Was it?
I feel like this stole it from the Chipmunk Adventure.
Oh my God. No, 87.
87.
Wow.
Sneakers totally ripped off the Chipmunk Adventure, you guys. You heard it here first.
But that's such a funny scene.
Yeah, no, it is. It's great. Okay, so then we have the big heist scene, which is when they're breaking into Cosmo's office. It's very exciting. It involves a lot of different.
There's so much.
It starts like early in the day. Like Carl needs to get in those ducts and like turn the heat up to 98 to body heat
So
temperature.
Cosmo's room has that motion sense detector. Mm-hmm. And the only way you can beat it is to make sure, like, raise the temperature in the room to, because it's thermal sensors. So if your body is 98.6 degrees, but the room is 98.6 degrees, it's not going to notice a differential of the body being in there, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to do that. But also he has to move at 2 feet per second.
It's tense, and there's the whole thing where like there's so much happening. He plays the tape to Werner Brandis, and it's like on fast forward, so it goes like like Chipmunk, which is another nod to the Chipmunks. Oh my God, they totally stole it. But then the thing's like access denied. It's like please talk slowly, and which is Good thing it didn't just deny him like right away. But so he gets in, and then so he can only move at the rate of 2 inches per second, which is just so painfully slow. And unfortunately at this time, they realize that Warner Brandis has figured out that Liz is not who she says she is, and brings her to his office and accuses her of like stealing information to get in, which she did, but she pretends that she didn't. But it's very tense because they're like, you need to get out of there, Marty, you have to hurry. And he's like, well, the one thing I can't do is hurry. And it's just, he gets out of there just in the nick of time. So it's a close shave. But really good scene.
It doesn't even matter because they know he's there anyway, because Liz lets it slip that like they met on a compu date.
So the computer matched them up.
Yeah. And Cosmo's like, a computer match her with him? I don't think so.
Next accent. Dummy head accent. But like, why couldn't the computer? It's not like, did the computer see a picture of her? I thought it was all based on data. So like it's not like only pretty people only date like a nerdy guys. I was
and she was like a musician and he was like a nerdy guy. I mean, that it was dumb.
Yes, super dumb.
Really
super dumb. But yeah, that heist, and then they do a couple of other ones, and I just think that I always love like their little tricks that they do. Yeah. So there's like the one in the beginning where they need to get the black box. They do this thing where they do like a diversion kind of tactic. So they have Carl pretending to be delivering like all these bottles of Drano. And the guy at the desk is like, we're not expecting a delivery of Drano. Like, why are you here with this Drano? And Carl is like, I don't know, man. They told me to come here with this Drano, so now I'm here. So they're yelling. Meanwhile, Marty walks in and like interrupts them having this discussion about the Drano and is like, hey, did my wife drop off a cake? She was supposed to drop off a cake. So that immediately makes the front desk guy be like super frazzled and be like, what? No, there's no cake here.
Then you hear the guy beep outside.
And then somebody beeps outside. So then Marty's like, oh, there she is. So he runs out, comes back with this giant pink box and balloons. And so he tries to get into the building and he's like, oh, I forgot my pass. Like, can you buzz me in, dude? And the guy's like still fighting with Carl about the Drano. And he's just like super flustered. And he's like, dude, buzz the fucking door. Or like the goddamn door. And so the guy just does it because he's so just like, just he can't handle it. And it's just genius. It's genius.
It's like they really know people. Like they know if someone gets flustered, they're gonna like drop like a little bit of their security side of themselves, and like let
because
somebody
they have
go.
all this experience with breaking into people's companies, that they have all that knowledge.
Right.
And I think that their little company or whatever is so fun to be. Like if you got to be in that, you got to do like some acting, some improv, some spy work. It seemed very fun. I would like to work for that company.
I know.
Definitely.
I would like to be a sneaker.
If I had those kinds of skills. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't really have anything useful that I could bring to the table except being like a sort of pretty girl, but like, no, but like smart, like hacking into stuff.
We
like,
could have our own sneakers business. We're that smart.
All right. We'll think about it.
And then finally, the last scene bring up is I think kind of like the funny. It's supposed to be like the funny one of the whole movie, which I remember when I was watching this when I was 9. My friend Catherine thought this was like the funniest. Was laughing her head off. It was so funny, and probably like the only scene we really actually understood, being 9-year-olds. So they finally get out and they're like ready, like they get away from Cosmo and everybody, and like they're on the path to glory, and they're like, yeah. So they're on the top of the roof, and they're like Crease and Mother, and they're in the big van with Whistler and the other, like, I don't know, way down the other side of the parking lot of Playtronics. Come and get us. Unfortunately, that's when Crease and Mother get held up by rifle point by random security guards that are like way on the other side of the parking lot. I don't know what they were doing there. They offer a racial slur to Crease, really uncomfortable moment. And make them get out of the van. But they don't know Mother is there because Whistler is there because he was in the back. So Whistler's going to have to drive the van. So he tells Martin, like, they have Crease and Mother, like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, you're going to have to drive the van. I'll talk you through it. So you have Martin with binoculars on this building like a mile away, and Whistler driving the van blind. So fun.
Who's never driven in his life, can't see anything. So do you remember the first time you drove a car? It was impossible because you just like, you have this gas. But I wonder like if you couldn't see if it would be different because you're just literally like, you don't know where you're going. You're just putting your foot on the thing. Yeah. But, and then I was thinking, would you have been able to talk somebody through the gear shift?
When he goes, what's reverse? And he's like, ugh, and he even thinks he's like 2 down. Like he kind of has
Well,
trouble
a good thing
remembering
you got it fucking right. I'd have no clue. I'm like 1 up. I don't remember.
I don't know.
No, if
And
2
that was
down
the
is
one-
drive. I think 1 up is reverse.
Well, that's the one. If you ever have the gear shift, almost all the ones on the console now. But
It's the
remember
same thing, though,
those
like-
old cars.
It's the same thing, like up or down.
Oh, okay.
Because like if you think about it, like up, down. So like you go
No.
up to reverse, down you put it in drive.
No.
Yeah.
No, park. It just goes down.
Park is already like in there.
Yeah, you just keep going
So
down.
reverse should
don't
be
you?
1 click up. And then the one immediately down from park is neutral, I think. And then it's drive. Because it was 2 down.
Maybe you're right. But that is really interesting, as you said. Like as a person with sight, you don't think about that at all because why would you have to remember?
So once again, good job, Bish,
Yeah.
for realizing that.
honorary blind guy.
Yeah. He really, but that part's crazy.
So that's just wild, and it's just him. Like, it is really funny, and he does a good job with that. A little worried when he crashes into the wall at the end. He didn't have a seatbelt on.
I
I'm
know.
like,
How didn't he die?
that
And he's-
seems sketchy.
He's flying over all of those like parking, those like medians, and like flying. He hits 2 cars.
Yeah.
No big deal. It's like, and good on that van for like not getting flat tires on everything.
That was like a
Diesel van, yeah.
Like that was no joke. That van.
Chill.
Yeah. So those are all the best scenes. So fucking amazing. Killed it. Moral of the story: blind people are awesome. They save the day. I mean,
he was
more than once.
Whistler's definitely the MVP, I think, for show. Man, so good. But yeah, it just really makes you want to be a spy. Like so bad, so fucking bad. And it's never gonna happen for me. It's probably never gonna happen.
But it's not too late.
They don't want me. I don't know.
I
I
can't.
can't. I can't run very far.
What?
In case they need me to run, like I'm not a good runner, so
No,
like I
you
probably
have a
wouldn't make
desk
it.
job.
I don't know. But I like that the other aspect of this is that you're right. I could be like the person that talks them through. Like, okay, you're going to come up a hall here. You're going to go down right. There's 2 guards on the left. You're going to have to do this. You're like, that's very exciting.
I love when they did all their little operations too, that it was like such a team effort. They're all like on the radio, that part. I actually do love that part where Bish breaks into Janek's office to steal the black box for the first time. And his like girlfriend slash
person
mistress.
he's doing,
Mistress comes in, who is another doctor, and they have to sort of make up on the fly that Bish is a PI. So he has like an earpiece in, and the guys are all like telling him what to say. So, but they're all kind of crafting this lie about who he is as a PI and stuff like that. Oh my God, that one is so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And I love that scene too, where they find out. So they know that they have to steal this black box, and they get into Yannick's office to try to find it, and they don't see it. They think that it's probably on the computer somewhere, so they try to get video of him typing his password in, but they don't see it because the woman is in the way trying to kiss him or whatever. And then Whistler's like, gentlemen, like, you don't need to, like, see it. Like, just listen. He's like, the black box is on the desk between the pencil cup and the lamp. And it turns out, like, when they first got eyes on this office, Carl was like, there's an answering machine and a pencil cup. And then later, the mistress lady is like, I call you on service, but you don't return call.
I leave message here on service, but you do not call.
Yeah. So she keeps saying, and they keep playing the tape over and over again, and keep hearing that, and he's like, listen to what she's saying. Like, he has an answering service, so why would he need an answering machine in addition to that? Which is a total sweetie confusion on my part because I had no idea. I didn't know what an answering service was. Like, I thought it was the answering machine because she says here. I leave it on answering service here, but you do not return call. So I was like, what was the? I don't get it. Like, why does he know that? But I just pretended to go along with it, and I like pretended that I understood it up until like a few years ago when I watched Mad Men and realized that Don Draper had an answering service, and then it's legitimately like you call it and leave a message with like a lady, and then she gives you the messages later.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up, but that's what it means. And so now I get it, but it was such a cool, another good Whistler, like, ha 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 ha, should be blind, then you could listen. So cool. Love it. Love that.
So God. Yeah, you guys, this movie's amazing. I hope this was exciting for everyone.
I don't
We
know.
just like talked about how much we loved it. Is there anything bad about it?
Well, let's get the new title. So like, okay, so now we've been through all this. We've done all the things. It didn't say anything in the trivia about like other titles, nothing like that. It was always going to be called Sneakers.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like the Black Box, or
I don't know. I think Too Many Secrets would have been perfect.
I think that's the best one.
But they said it so many times in the movie would that have been like cheesy because they kind of started using it as like a little gimmick. I didn't see this in the trivia, but the one cool trivia thing that I did see was that thing I told you in the beginning. So the first scene in 1969, they're at like this college computer lab or whatever, like hacking into those, like the Nixon campaign or whatever. And that is actually the scene. It's covered in snow, but it's actually the same building as the Hill Valley clock tower from Back to the Future.
Which I thought it looked so familiar, which is probably, I mean, we just watched that movie. So that's probably why, but it's funny. And it makes sense because it's a Universal film. Yeah. So the Universal lot still has the clock tower thing. So that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
I like a picture of that. I like to stand in front of that.
Large Marge alumni, the clock tower.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Making its appearance again.
And I was just going to say something with the trivia and IMDb. So someone put in the, I was just like looking through, as we usually do, the IMDb page, just with like who's in it and the trivia and stuff. But then I was looking at the ratings. Okay, 7.1 out of 10. Fuck you, people. This is such a good movie. Whatever. Number 2, some guy was like, this is the last best hacker film or something like that. Do you agree with that?
One moment. Let me consult my reference guide to find out what my favorite hacker film is. No, I think it is false.
Are you going to do the net?
Yep.
Yes, because that's what I thought. And when was the net?
95.
Okay.
So false, dude, false. I mean, like, I think this one is better movie maybe overall, but I think the net has better hacker stuff.
I wouldn't even call this this is like light hacking, right? This is not, there is computer stuff, but it's not like they're doing like a lot of the hacking.
They're just like plugging in something and it like magically comes up with what they need.
Hacking.
I think it's mostly like freelance spy work, whereas I think the net was like legit, like so fucking cool and like ahead of its time.
I can't wait to do that movie.
I know, so good.
That's like, almost like how much obviously Sneakers I love so much, but I love watching the net a lot too.
Oh my god, so much. Get away from the computer.
And that's another. Well, that one especially. Oh my god, where you're like, it's just.
Thing after thing,
yeah. And you're like, this is never going to be right.
And normally those movies upset me, but like in that case, and in this, in Sneakers' case, like it's just so enjoyable that I just love every minute of it. Maybe it's because I've seen it before, so I know how it'll turn out, but I don't have a problem with it. It's like, I'm just digging it, man. I'm digging it.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, but I think now, if you're talking about hacker movies now, they're just not like done as much. Is it just because computers are too much a part of our world?
Yeah, now our like technology is just like too far advanced. It's just like you can do anything you want. Like this insane thing you can do. Oh yeah, we got that. Like I don't know, it's just not fun anymore.
And it's like everyone can be a hacker. You know what I mean? It's like it's just not like a special thing.
Yeah. It's not
what is the movie? Isn't there a movie called Hackers?
That's what I was thinking of when I was
I've
like,
never seen
what
that, but
is
like the hacking movie, isn't it?
Yeah, let's see here. Is Gene Hackman in it? Oh, that was 95 too. Huh. Okay. That had Angelina Jolie in it. Weird. Wow.
Who else is
Do not remember this. Fucking rant. Johnny Lee Miller, whoever that is. Jesse Bradford, who was the guy in Bring It On. Matthew Lillard.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I've never seen
unknown people. Mark Anthony. What is happening?
What? The singer? Tell me, baby girl, because I need to know.
Not Mark Antony. Very confusing.
Did J-Lo ever marry that skeleton face and had 2 babies? That's so weird.
That's so sad.
She's got a low bar.
She get out of it. She get out.
She's dating Alex Rodriguez now. Weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Weirdos.
Fucker.
Weirdos. Awesome, guys. Thanks for listening to this podcast about our favorite movie called Sneakers. Which I want to be. That'd be funny if it was like just different shoes. You like went around and named it different shoes.
Pumps. Mary Jane's.
Mules.
Clogs.
High tops.
What are slingbacks? Oh, they have like
Yeah.
the slingback. Okay. Got it.
Clogs.
Boots.
Do you do clogs?
Yeah. I said,
Oh my god!
I
what if-
said
what if-
clogs.
you know how like on IMDb they do like this movie is called whatever in this country, but if like in Sweden it's called clogs.
That'd be great. I hope it is. That'd be really fun.
Sneaky sneakers.
Sneakies. So anyways,
yeah.
hope you guys enjoyed this romp.
Romp through the
The romp through
the good times.
the fun things. So if you haven't seen Sneakers and you listen to this episode anyway, God bless you.
You're a true fan.
But like, what are you doing? Go watch Sneakers
oh,
right now.
so good.
So good. If you have seen it, go watch it again.
Is it a
It's
freebie?
amazing. No, it's not a freebie.
Damn it.
But it's fine. Pay $3 and rent it. It's not going to kill you.
It's so good. You will love. You will not be sorry, especially in this time where it's just so sad and confusing. You'll wish for 1992.
it's
when
good
it was
to have
just
a nice
George
little
Herbert
escape.
Walker Bush, and
Yep.
really we had no problems at all.
Nope. It was great. It was great. So anywho, thanks for listening. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club and on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Love ya.
Bye.
Bye.
They threw me in a trunk, drove around in circles. It could be 100 miles away. It could be next door. It could be underground. It could be in a skyrise. Forget it.
Bish, what did it sound like?
What?
The road. When you were in the trunk, what did the road sound like?
Oh, I don't... Highway, a regular highway.
Well, did you go over any speed bumps? Gravel? How about a bridge?
Bridge. Yeah. 4 bridges in the Bay Area.
Was the Golden Gate fogged in last night?
Yes.
Did you hear a foghorn?
No?
Scratch the Golden Gate. That leaves 3.
What did it sound like? Did you go through a tunnel in the middle?
I'm not... No.
Scratch the Bay.
Well, that leaves 2. San Mateo and Dunbarton.
What did it sound like?
Lower. There was a recurring sound.
Like seams in the concrete.
But further apart.